What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. I am here. I've been looking forward to this for truthfully months, but really like this last week since we put it on the books. I am here with Jimmy Mackin, the CEO of Curaytor Systems, which I am a client of, so full disclosure. But before I was even a client, I've been following you back when you and Chris were doing the water cooler, and back even before that. And so I'm super excited to have you on for the interview here, Jimmy.
Yeah, appreciate it, Jason. I think, I'm just excited to give value to your community. You got a lot of fans, a lot of followers, a lot of people looking at you every day, seeing what you're doing on social. So, hopefully we can give them some tips and takeaways here to help them grow their business during this,
100%.
Uncertain time.
100%. I'm 100% confident that you're going to be the one to do it too. So thanks again for taking out some time a little bit right now. I mean, it is a weird time. What's quarantine life like in the Mackin household right now?
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's like, we're trying to stay sane, trying to stay positive. Like the amount of books I'm reading on stoicism is like increasing exponentially every single week. Listen, I think both me and my wife are both business owners. My wife co-founded a yoga studio up in Wakefield, Mass. And, she's had to take her entire business online and, being able to teach classes and attract her, new members and support her community. And obviously for us, a Curaytor, we're a belly-to-belly company. We love, seeing our customers out there working, love being in the office, working with a team here in Boston. And, I think all of us are suffering from extreme depression as it relates to being isolated. But, I think that a lot of us right now are trying to make the most of what we got right now. But yeah, it's the thing is, Jason, for me, as it relates to, what my day looks like, I think the one thing that I've learned during this experience, I've tried to sort of adjust my style here, is that a lot of the people I talk to they started ramping up their workload. They started sort of increasing their output, putting more hours in, trying to produce more content. And this might not be a terrible time to also slow it down a little bit too. Figure out ways to kind of pump the brakes. Now, I've only got one speed, right? And the team Curaytor knows that, but I've had to take this time to not try to cram in 3 work days into one day because of everything that's happening, because you're just so desperate to find control. But yeah, man, it's been a wild ride, and I feel like everyone else is waiting for this thing to be over, turn the corner, and get back to what the new normal looks like.
100%. And you have a new baby, right? Newer.
Yeah. She actually just turned 1.
Congratulations.
On April 26th. Yeah. So not much older than yours. She's easy. Like, it's just like, I have listen, first off, my wife does the lion's share of the work. And so I'm really not qualified to say anything about this, but she's an easy baby. She sleeps like 12 hours a night. I can't complain. It's been great though. It's been fun to see her. And we did a big Zoom call. We did Zoom call all the family, the balloons, the cupcakes. So, that was that. Make the best of it.
Too. My wife does all the heavy lifting, of course. And Jet he's 4 months next week, but he's sleeping through the night. So we're getting 7 to 7. And that was a game changer when he started sleeping through the night in his crib. But it's kind of a little bit of a forced paternity leave blessing in disguise to get to hang with him for the last 2 months, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, that's been one of the benefits for me too, for sure. Because I didn't have a paternity leave when Ada was born. Right. I was at work 3 days later.
Yep.
So for me, I wouldn't consider this to be a paternity leave, but it's been nice to spend a lot more time with her, especially 100%. At this age.
100%. Okay, so if you're watching this on my Instagram, there's a good chance you've been following me for a while, so you may know what Curaytor is because I talk about it a lot. But for those that don't, Jimmy, tell us, what is Curaytor in a nutshell? Give us the pitch.
Yeah, sure. Well, Curaytor is just best known for really helping innovative agents stand out with exceptional marketing. That's what we're known for. We're about one thing at Curaytor, which is getting your marketing done right. And what we believe at Curaytor in our bones and it's in our DNA, it's what we preach every single day, is this ability for agents to stand out in their marketplace requires them to do things differently. And what we see a lot in real estate, especially early in the space when we got it involved nearly a decade ago, it was this sort of better sameness world of marketing, Jason, where people would basically do the same print ads, the same online ads, the same email campaigns, the same newsletters. And so the consumer has a very difficult time differentiate between a crappy agent who produces very low, production, doesn't have the experience, doesn't add a lot of value, to a high producing agent who has a lot of experience, who's seen every single scenario, who could really add value and justify their commission. So, what marketing does at its core is it allows an agent, especially in the services space, agent, team, broker, to communicate their value proposition in a way that can compel a consumer to want to hire you. So what we've always been about since day one at Curaytor is we want to turn the volume up. We want to figure out what it is about our clients that really help them stand out, and we want to shine a spotlight on that. So Curaytor has the ability, as you already know, Jason, we just have a tendency to attract the best of the best. Agents who want to do things differently. Agents who want to, elevate their brand. Agents who aren't afraid to try things.
Yeah.
The amount of complaining in this industry about how hard things are, how difficult it is, this is all new, it's all overwhelming. That's business.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
Yep.
That's business. So I think that's one of the mentalities that Curaytor clients have, Jason, is just this willingness to sort of get uncomfortable as they explore new ideas.
Yeah. You have the blessing, I guess you would say, but you work with a lot of the best agents in the country. You have a lot of really high performing agents. And I mean, just Curaytor alone, the way it's structured, like you have to almost have like a high performing team to be able to intake, I remember when I joined up, like the lead flow that comes in and like the amount of content to put out, you almost need to have like a marketer on your team and or hire you guys, in the marketer level. But there's such an amount of leads that come in that you really have to have a team, and to have a team, you're probably producing really well. So you've had the benefit of working with some of the best teams in the nation. How have you seen their marketing shift in the last 2 months? And so this is kind of like the micro COVID type question. And then later on, we'll talk macro trend changes. But like right now in the last couple months, what are the best teams doing different?
Yeah, it's, I think the businesses that are able to survive right now have one common characteristic. That is, they have spent the better part of the last few years building a community, building an audience. Now, let me explain the difference here, because this is a very important distinction from a marketing perspective, and a lot of people screw this up. There's traffic, and then there's an audience. Traffic is people visiting your website, people who are clicking on ads, people who are opening up emails, but there isn't an association they have with your brand. There isn't a connection. So BuzzFeed has traffic. The New York Times has an audience. And when you think about the agents who are best prepared, because listen, no one was prepared for what happened, but the agents who are best prepared to adapt, and I'll talk about what I'm seeing right now on the ground level, the agents who are best prepared to adapt had spent the better part of the last couple of years building an audience. So I think of Elena D'Agostino and Joyce at Lucky to Live Here Realty. They opened up their own shop a couple of years ago. They are absolutely dominating their local market. Elena, I've known for nearly a decade now. She started her brand on the back of this idea that she wanted to celebrate the community in which she lived in, which is the Five Harbors in Long Island, a beautiful, beautiful area, super, people who live there are just super proud to live there. So she celebrated that area. She built an audience. I think it's a home of Billy Joel. So she celebrated that area, and she was really all about promoting it. So she's got an audience. Her and Joyce have an audience. So now when they start to actually market and promote, let's say things like local businesses to help support the community, they have a platform to do that from, because people have already made the association that these people are all about their community. So what we're seeing from an execution standpoint, a tactical standpoint, is number one, agents who have invested in building an audience are able to leverage that audience to then do things like support the local businesses, to be a steward of the community. If you haven't done that in the past and you're just starting now, you're just so far behind the 8 ball that, you can make some progress and you build some momentum, but you're just like, you're not really well positioned to do that. The second thing I see people doing, Jason, that I think is so incredibly powerful, one of the things that I just absolutely love, and I'm seeing people like Amy Youngren do this with North Group. I'm seeing Jessica Woodbeck do this with her community, and this is more on the team side. But like I'm seeing team leads triple down on investing on internal coaching. Mm-hmm. So from an external perspective, you see like top agents pivoting really hard to promote the local community, be of service, support people. On the internal side, you see really smart team leads and brokers pivot towards doubling down on internal training, keeping their team busy, keeping their team focused. Because as a team lead, it's not just about your own psyche and your own production. It's also about like your team's, psyche in their own production in a time like this.
Yeah. So that actually, because one of the last questions I was going to ask kind of goes into coaching, but you kind of segued into it right there. Talk to me a little bit. You wrote a book, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. Huge fan. I did a book club thing with my team. I did a giveaway on Instagram. We gave away 10, 15 copies of that book. All the feedback I've gotten was great. And you wrote it with Phil Jones, who is in essence, he's a coach, right? Like that's what he does is he teaches not just real estate agents, he teaches people on exactly what to say in certain sales situations. So talk to me about the importance of coaching in the real estate space. Cause obviously everybody gets in, you hear Tom Ferry. I actually coach with a coach named Steve Scholl here in Southern California. And you wrote the book with Phil. What is the role of coaching in the real estate space?
Yeah, it's a big question. Let me jump back to one thing though. I don't want to forget. We were talking about what agents can do right now externally. I'll come back to coaching here in a second. I just don't want to forget this point for your audience, which is one thing that you can do and should do is talk about real estate. And I think this is a mistake that I see a lot of people making is they're pivoting so hard towards call it helpful, information in the community. It's great. You should do that. But consumers want to know how COVID has affected their ability to buy a home, how COVID has affected the value of their home, the resale value of their home, the equity of their home. Don't stop talking about real estate just because you're afraid it's going to come off as insensitive. It's the thing that really pisses me off as it relates to the real estate community that drives me crazy is when other agents are shaming agents for doing their damn job. If you're watching this podcast right now on Instagram, on Facebook, I don't want you to give a shit about a single other agent's opinion about the way you run your business. Bill Gates did not care what Steve Jobs thought about how he ran Microsoft. Jeff Bezos doesn't care what anybody thinks about how he runs Amazon. So I think right now you have to make a decision that's authentic to you, that's relevant for you, that's for your business. So yes, I think that this idea that don't talk about real estate, people are going through a crisis. You know what? You can't make that blanket statement across the board. People have been planning to buy a home for many, many years. Your job as a professional is to add value, to help guide them through a complicated transaction. Well, I can't think of a more complicated transaction than the one that we're living through right now. So I just don't want to forget that point, Jason.
No, that's really good, Jimmy. You did it in one of our coaching sessions or something like that. It was one of the weekly things in our mastermind group. You mentioned something along the lines of, we're still the real estate expert. And as much as we want to be present and stuff like that, we're not there necessarily to teach people how to homeschool their kids or cook stuff, which is fine. You have to put out content, but at the end of the day, you should be providing real estate information to your clients because that's what they care about with you. And so I think initially too, I was very much my team and the content we were putting out. We did the first couple of weeks, we just circled the wagons. We didn't talk real estate. We did some support local small businesses. We did giveaways and things like that. And we felt like that was really important to do that. But then when we brought the real estate back into it, we didn't stop doing that other stuff too. So it was kind of a mix of both. And then we started layering about a week or two in, once the numbers started reflecting some COVID type stuff, we needed to get that information out ASAP because we are the experts for San Diego. And as much as we think that people love when we give homeschooling tips or all this other stuff, ultimately they come to us for real estate expertise.
Yeah. And let me give your audience a way to think about this. And you're absolutely on point. They come to you for real estate expertise. Yep. There's 3 questions that consumers are asking themselves right now. The first one is, can I buy and sell a house right now? That's a fundamental question. The second question is, should I buy a house or sell a house right now? And then the third question is, how do I buy and sell a house right now? So this idea of can, should, how. These are 3 pillar questions that consumers are asking themselves. So when you think about your content strategy, whether it's through video, through written word, through email marketing, through going live on Facebook, through whatever mechanism you're using to distribute your content, those are the fundamental questions consumers are asking themselves. And you have different groups asking themselves different questions, but that's it. It's, can I buy and sell a house right now? Should I do it? And then if I decide that I should, how exactly do I go about that? And if you use that as the baseline for your marketing strategy, for your content strategy, that's going to help empower you to create relevant content for an audience who's ready to make a decision. And one thing to add there, Jason, my mindset has always been, since the first sort of 2 weeks of, trying to get my equilibrium, has been like, I had calls for 2 weeks straight with clients saying, hey, I just lost 3 deals this past week. I'm not sure what to do. I had this, 6 transactions on the edge right now, falling apart. The buyers are pulling out. The sellers want to wait till the spring. And all of their focus was on that. And at a certain point, I started to ask myself this question, because they were just focusing on the deals they were losing. And what they really needed to focus on was, there are people who now are going to move to the sidelines.
Yep.
We know this, right? We are aware of that. We're all experiencing it. But there are people who are still in the game. And that's who you've got to focus on. So from a messaging perspective, from a sales perspective, from a marketing perspective, focus on the people who are in the game. And like the people who are on the sidelines, they're going to come back in eventually, right? And let's just focus on the people who are still acting and transacting right now at this point.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And there's probably people who are coming into the game that weren't before, because they see opportunity, whether it be in getting a discounted purchase and more investor type, mindset, that were on the sidelines that might now be back in the game. So while you may have lost one opportunity, you've now picked up a whole nother pot of opportunity.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to the coaching question, so you mentioned it because you mentioned, I think it was Amy and Jessica or something like that, and how integral it is as team leaders to implement coaching to your team in a time like this. You wrote the book with Phil. Talk to me about what you think the role of coaching is in not only real estate, but also the team structure.
Yeah, Phil, Chris, and I, all co-wrote the book, and we adapted Phil M. Jones's book, Exactly What to Say for the Real Estate Industry. His book is going to sell probably 1 million copies within the next 2 to 3 years. Phil M. Jones, if you guys don't know who he is, he's a world-class sales trainer. He's an expert communicator. We have him every month providing, group coaching for all of our Curaytor clients in our Curaytor Mastermind group. But he's someone that I've long admired for his ability to, I think, transform the way that we sell, which is to say that the person who's asking the questions is the person who's in control of the conversation. So a lot of what Phil teaches and a lot of what we adapted for real estate was teaching agents on how to ask the right questions to be able to get a better understanding of what's motivating that customer so they can be of service to them. It's not about selling per se, it's about guiding. In this particular case, as it relates to coaching, here's the thing. I run the company where I got 45 employees that work for Curaytor. And I think there are a lot of similarities to the way that any company that has, 10 team members, 5 team members, or a company like Curaytor that has, 45 employees has to think about every day, which is, first and foremost, you've got to make sure your team has the right mindset and is ready to rock and roll. And things aren't normal. People are staying home with kids. They're having to work. They're having to balance that work-life balance. It's not easy. So as a leader, you have to, especially if you're going to coach someone, you have to first understand and be empathetic to their situation. You can't just sort of be tone deaf to say, hey, let's keep going. Let's keep pushing, right? Like their world is upside down. Maybe their spouse lost their job. Very, very, possible, right? They got a lot of things going on. As I said at the beginning of today's podcast, like it's terrible, I think, for everybody. And people who say it's not terrible are full of shit because it's terrible.
Yes.
So listen, I think the first thing is you have to understand everyone's situation is going to be unique. So any coaching done well is done very specific to the individual's needs, the person on the team. You can have general concepts, but one-on-one coaching is arguably 10 times more effective than group coaching, especially in the context of supporting a team. The first thing that we do at Curaytor is we provide a lot of information around mindset that we're just regularly checking in with people, which is, hey, you should read this article, you should download this app, get Calm going. We also, and I've been doing this recently, I've been calling up some of my team and saying, hey, listen, I want you to take a couple days off. I don't care what you're working on. I don't care what project you have happening right now. Like, take a couple days off. just get your mind right. Take a step back, right? So I think giving your team the ability, even in the midst of a crisis, to step back for a moment so they can actually have some perspective and kind of catch their breath. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to get a lot better, all of us do, at telling them or guiding them on what to do every day. Giving them a more updated routine. What can they be doing with their time? Because generally speaking, what they're going to do is what we all do, which is they wake up in the morning and they look on Twitter or on Facebook, on Instagram, they see some terrible news and they become massively depressed like the world's ending, right?
Yep.
Okay. If they have some direction in terms of what they should be doing every single day, and then they can find those small wins, that progress, right? Because that's what it's all about, is that sort of progress, that momentum. You can start to build a culture during this time frame that is pushing people towards, a better future. If they wake up and you didn't tell them or guide them on what to do that day, then they're going to get sucked into sort of the chaos that is right now, the news today. So I think, from my perspective, from a coaching perspective, listen, I'm a marketing guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a coach per se. I'm not a guy out there who has all the answers. Trust me. I make a lot of mistakes. But one of the things I do know is that, you've got to invest in your people. One of the things we're doing at Curaytor is, it sounds crazy that we're doing this, but we just literally launched 2 projects, Project Clarity and Project Culture. And we have our director of HR doing this, Jason, which is Project Clarity is, tell me what your role is every day. Tell me how that, what your tasks are that you complete. How is that impactful? How is that connected to the company's goals? And then where do you find like you're struggling? And we're collecting that feedback. Yeah. And Project Culture is, what are the things that we can be doing at Curaytor to help improve your work environment, not just now, but in the future. So I think from a coaching perspective, just pour into your people, whatever it takes. Pick up the phone, be a human being, reach out, help them out, be of service to them. I believe that the job of a CEO is to be of service to the people that work for them.
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Right.
No, it's solid advice. You gave this advice to me we did a one-on-one phone call probably about 2 or 3 months ago. And I took that and I instituted the Cassity Team Digest. And each week on Monday, I'll send out, I actually stole your book title. It says exactly what to do this week. And it's going to read chapters 1 through 10 of this book. We're going to watch this Tom Ferry video. We're going to post this on Facebook, this on LinkedIn. And then at the end of the week, we'll recap, assess what worked well. And then we deploy the next week. And we literally just lay out exactly what to do this week.
Yeah.
And it's been really helpful. And I've gotten great feedback from the team.
I love that. And I think it's you bring up a great point, Jason, which is now is the time to over communicate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think Eric Ries, who is the author of a book called The Lean Startup. Your audience should read it if they haven't read it. It's one of the best books I've ever read on the topic of running and starting a business and scaling a business, called Lean Startup by Eric.
I'll put it in the comments down below.
Okay, cool. And one of the things that he talks about in a recent interview he conducted, he says a crisis has the unintended benefit of forcing you to do things you should have been doing all along. And so what we're seeing now for good businesses who are able to adjust during this time frame and be able to stay afloat, survive, right? That's sort of the environment that we're in right now. They're focusing on areas of their business that were maybe masqueraded because of their growth. I think, Curaytor grew from me, Chris, and my other co-founder, Andrew, from working with 5 clients. My guy, Dave Fish, who I don't think Dave Fish is on Instagram, but he was our first client at Curaytor. He's still a Curaytor client, which I'm really proud of. He's been with us for, 9 years now, 8.5 years now. Well, we started as a small company. We scaled to $10 million of revenue within 4 or 5 years. And so, from a revenue perspective, from a hiring perspective, from a growth perspective, it was just up and to the right. And the problem with that is it creates a lot of structural issues with your business that get overlooked because you're just growing. Yeah. So it's kind of like the 2007, 2008 housing crash, which is everything was fine, giving people, 100% down or 100% mortgages, no money down when the equity was going up. But as soon as the equity started to go down, they sort of realized the exposure, and obviously the market crashed because of it, because that was kind of covering the underlying fundamental issue. Yep. So that's what happens with growth. It covers up fundamental issues. Now, as your business has suffered and you have a setback, Now you got to start thinking, okay, what are the parts of my business that are fundamentally broken? Be honest with yourself and just get out there and fix it.
Yeah, that's so solid. Yeah, I think it's even, I mean, in my own business, I've noticed that, you know, just 2 or 3 years, the last 2 or 3 years, business has been, you know, here in San Diego, prices have been going up 10% year over year. You know what I mean? So it's like anybody could have sold a house, and it's really easy to let the foundation of my business get overlooked because money was coming in. You know, and then it takes you know, a lean time like this actually to be able to actually look under the hood and reset things the way they need to be so that the next 10 years is set up for success.
Yeah, 100%.
Super easy when the business is good. So I told you I'd have you off by 10:30. I want to be respectful of your time. I had one other question. I don't know if you have time for it.
Yeah, let's go.
If you don't.
I got plenty of time.
Oh, bingo. Okay, I didn't know if you have it back.
We'll keep going. I'll go through all your questions. Listen, I'm here.
One more really question. I was going to give it to you in written form and just have you write it in the comments. But since you've got the time, I want to know, you're in it. You're in the trenches when it comes to marketing every single day.
Yeah.
What are 1 or 2 trends? There's a dog across the way. I hope you don't hear him in the mic. What are 1 or 2 trends that you foresee happening in 2020 now on the macro level? Take COVID out of it. Obviously, that may be lingering throughout 2020, but pretend it's not.
Sure.
What should real estate agents watching this think about for the remainder of 2020 as a real estate marketing trend?
Yeah, I think one of the big trends is, you know, company that people should study. So let me give you my sort of philosophy on marketing, because I think there's a I see the world a little bit differently than most as it relates to this space. I think a lot of people mistakenly think of marketing as sort of like, you know, what you create, what you promote, what you advertise online, and that's their marketing strategy. And oftentimes you see people just like produce a video and post it on social, create an email, send it out to their audience, right? And you already know this, Jason, but like what we're realizing, what the best brands in the world all do is they have a path where everything is connected. Everything is working together in concert, meaning the ad that you're running on Facebook feeds into a retargeting campaign, which feeds into an email drip, which feeds into potentially, you know, a call to action or offer within an email. And everything works together in concert, in harmony. And the goal is to first raise awareness that you exist, drive traffic to your website, generate leads, build your audience. Then you want to figure out how do you engage that audience to build an association with your brand so they see you as a local expert, someone who can help them achieve their goals. And that's done obviously through content marketing, through advertising, through email marketing, through video. Then you want to have some element that helps drive conversion, something that is more of a direct response marketing and advertising, saying, hey, if you want to make a decision now, let's talk, something along those lines. And how all of those components work together is what great brands do well that most of us struggle to actually execute. So I think the first thing that people need to do during this time frame and really looking in the future here is laying out your marketing plan, not as a calendar, which is like, what am I doing today or tomorrow, but as a journey, as a customer journey. How do you pull people into your funnel, into your world? How do you drive them down the funnel? How do you build up that positive brand association? And how do you convert that lead into a real sales opportunity? And it's about separating what we refer to as marketing qualified leads, MQLs, and sales qualified leads, SQLs. So in this context, I think the first thing I want your audience to think about here is taking the time to map out every single thing they do from a social media, from a video, from an email, from a content marketing perspective. Map it out, try to draw the lines on how it's connected. And what they're going to find when they do this is it's probably not. And that's the problem. And a company that everyone needs to follow, and this is an industry that everybody needs to follow, is the mattress industry. Because the mattress industry right now is so interesting. If you look at the mattress industry, you have what? Like what are the big brands? Casper.
Casper's the big online brand, I think, right? And then
Tough and Needle. They got one called Purple.
Purple.
They got. If you if you Google mattresses, you'll see like there's just a bunch of brands offering premium, luxurious, you know, mattresses that now they're starting to expand in different product lines. Okay, well, what's so interesting about these mattresses is that they're a commodity. They're basically the same damn thing. Some of these mattresses are made at the same factory. So what they have done from a marketing perspective, their main objective is to package this thing in such a way, position it in such a way where they can demand a premium for their commodity. Because there really isn't much difference between Tough and Needle and Casper. What's different is how the consumer perceives the value of Casper versus Tough and Needle. So what they're forced to do, which is a great kind of case study to look at is they are forced to differentiate themselves in a world where everyone's kind of offering the same thing on the surface. I could not think of a better parallel than real estate. Mm-hmm. Everyone offers the same thing on the surface.
Right.
How do you differentiate yourself? So these brands, what they're doing, Jason, is they have this idea that they're a premium brand. And this is a trend that I want all of your audience to sort of embrace. So first thing is map out your marketing strategy, see where there's holes, try to connect the dots, obsess over the customer journey. That's a macro idea. Everyone should be thinking that way because that's ultimately going to drive a better result for your marketing and your advertising. The second thing is, and this is my last tip for your audience today, is start thinking about yourself as a premium brand. How much do you charge for commission? 3%, 4%, 6%? Okay. And knowing that the market offers solutions which are 1%, a little less than 1%, right? You are on the higher end of the market, which means you are a premium brand, which means you need to act like it. You need to market like it, sell like it, service like it. And the moment you start to think about yourself as a premium brand, then everything about what you do begins to be aligned with that mission. And, we have an expression here at Curaytor, which is a Rolls Royce doesn't have cloth seats.
Right.
And for us, you see this, Jason, because you're a client of ours, like we pour into every aspect of our services to our customers, whether it's our mastermind group, our coaching, our customer service, our product, our actual marketing that we do for our customers. Like we have this fanatical obsession that drives us because we are a premium service. Curators starts at $1,200 a month. You can go get your marketing done for, $100 with Fiverr. Or hire some admin just out of school who has never done anything in their life for, $500 a month. Like we are a premium service. We got to act like it. You guys are a premium service.
One of the biggest things, it's such a good takeaway, and everything you talked about from being omni-channel and just present at all times has been the cornerstone of what I've taught my team for the last, and what I've literally been doing even before Curaytor. That's what I thought I wanted to do. And now you guys have just come in and actually helped me do it. But the entire marketing strategy that every person should have is so that when someone goes online, they search for Jason Cassity instead of searching for San Diego real estate agent. Because the second they search for San Diego real estate agent, you're competing with Zillow, you're competing with Google, and you've just commoditized your business. And so now you're sitting down and you're going through your 21-point listing presentation that every brokerage has. And that's when the discount questions come in, because if we all have the same thing, we're racing to the bottom on commission. Who can do it for the cheapest? But if they don't search that and they search Jason Cassity because they've seen me for 3 years through video, through retargeting, then I can almost charge whatever I want. You know what I mean? Within reason, because they're calling you because they want your services that they've seen for 3 years. That's the biggest differentiating factor between what you just described as like an omni-channel, all-present approach that Curaytor offers, and going and doing it yourself and just going for maybe just a Facebook lead ad or pay-per-click. I can get leads all day long, but how are they coming to me? That's the biggest differentiating factor.
There's one thing I want to add there, because you just reminded me of an idea here. And this is like, I got a lot of shit when I said Zillow is a tax you pay for being bad at marketing.
I remember that. And
people were really upset about it. And listen, we have a lot of clients who use Zillow. And what I was saying was, what I was ultimately saying was this. If you look at Zillow's strategy, Redfin's strategy, you look at what they do. Their approach is direct to consumer, right? I think Rich Barton has a saying, which is, one of the missions they have, or one of the visions they have at Zillow, is power to the people. Well, the people ain't real estate agents. I can tell you that. It's the consumer. They're obsessing over the consumer. And when I said that, I wasn't knocking Zillow. I'm actually all about using Zillow to create an additional stream of revenue for your business. But don't do it, all right, in lieu of building up your own brand, because you're mortgaging your future if you do that. So here's where I think is a great takeaway for your audience here, Jason. Up until recently, there's been only one airline that's been profitable over the last 40 years. You know what it is?
I'm going to say Southwest.
Southwest Airlines. Where can you buy tickets for Southwest Airlines? Where can you buy a ticket to fly Southwest?
On southwest.com.
Anywhere else?
Nope. No Kayak, no Expedia.
No Expedia, no Kayak, no TripAdvisor, no whatever the one the actor's in, Tripago or whatever it is.
Trivago.
Trivago. Yeah, you can see I'm not on Trivago.
Yeah.
So like you can only buy tickets for Southwest Airlines on southwest.com.
Correct.
And what Southwest has done is they've built the brand, and they no longer have to play in your sandbox.
Right.
They no longer have to pay a tax and a premium to market and promote themselves amongst the 50 other airlines competing for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what you have got to embrace. Now, you might have to use some stepping stones to get there. You might have to cold call and call expires and FISBOs. You might have to door knock. You might have to use Zillow. You might have to, buy leads from another source like Realtor.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But do it as a way to invest in your brand so you can become the Southwest of real estate agents, as opposed to other airlines who are completely dependent on other third-party services to drive business. Correct. And you're right, Jason. If people come directly to you, the conversation about commission doesn't come up. I want to clarify that statement for the very few people who probably saw that post or come back and check me out on Instagram. What I was really trying to communicate, which is more than a soundbite, is listen, if you are using Zillow in lieu of building your own marketing strategy and you're not building up that muscle memory that you really need and to be able to flex, you're mortgaging your future. Yep. And people like Jason are going to eat your lunch all day long.
Yep. Nope, you nailed it. You 100,000% nailed it. Jimmy, I thank you very much. I was right. You were going to provide value to the people watching this. We had a live streaming issue, so this is just being recorded. I'm going to cut this up. I'm going to put it on Facebook, Instagram. So wherever you're watching this, give Jimmy a follow, a shout out. Let him know. Thank you for the value, man. I really, really appreciate you taking the time and jumping on this with me.
Yeah, sure thing, Jason. Great seeing you, brother. Thanks, everybody.
Same. You too. Bye.